Well, Oilers fans, it wasn't going to be easy, was it? Let's get to work.
You are Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Locked On Oilers. I am your host, Nick Zararis. Before we get to today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So today's episode, the structure is very straightforward. We're going to talk about what didn't work. We're going to talk about what it means for the big picture. And the third segment is going to be a pep talk ahead of Game 6. So let's get to it. This was a winnable hockey game for the Edmonton Oilers. I know the shots on goal. I know the scoring chances, depending whose shot tracking you look at, wasn't particularly favorable for the Oilers. They didn't play particularly well, like they haven't. Frankly, for most of this series, the Oilers have made I won't say they've made a conscious trade-off, because the Canucks have definitely had the puck more, kind of similarly to the Rangers-Carolina series and the Boston-Florida series and the Dallas-Colorado series, for that matter, where one team has had the puck a lot more and the other team has found a way to keep their series close. And I know the Rangers-Carolina series is over now, and Boston is facing an uphill battle, having to win 2 in a row, and Dallas is going to have to win 2 more in a row to keep their series alive as well. But that trade-off has been quality for quantity. If the other team is going to have a lot more possession than you are in terms of scoring chances and zone time, you need to generate really good scoring chances when you have the puck in the offensive zone. And tonight, that just wasn't there for the Oilers. And I'm trying to think of a way. It took me a while to put together how I wanted to talk about this, because it feels very unfair for me to say the Oilers stars weren't good enough tonight. Connor, Leon, Hyman, Bouchard, Ekholm, those guys have been carrying the load for a month and a half now, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it's been since the playoffs started. Those guys have carried the load night in and night out. The Oilers have quite a few guys who are really getting up there in ice time. And you want to be fair to those guys within the context of their roles, their responsibilities, the amount they have to play. Tonight, they were not good enough. Connor himself said it after the game. I took a little bit longer than usual to start recording because I wanted to see what he had to say, what if I could catch Knobloch's comments. I didn't get Knobloch's before I came on to start recording. It is very late on the East Coast, but I wanted to get a feel for how the Oilers felt about their game. And it's really hard to gain a lot from post-game scrums in the locker room or at the podium, because a lot of the times those guys are still kind of processing what they're dealing with in that moment as the game's over, coming down from that emotional high within those playoff games. And I felt the Oilers left meat on the bone there. And it's got to be frustrating that you're at 2-2 with a minute and a half to go, and you probably think you're getting to overtime, and to lose the way they did with 30 some odd seconds left, it's really deflating. To lose on a broken play where your best guys are on the ice, and that's what's the killer about tonight. I was going to save this stat for my next point, but I'll say it now. When the Oilers had McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman on the ice tonight, they got outscored 2-0 at 5-on-5. If your best possible configuration of forwards is going to get outscored 2-0 at 5-on-5, you're probably not going to win the game. It's really that simple. It's really that straightforward. And like I said a minute ago, I want to be fair to Connor, Leon, Hyman, Bouchard, Ekholm, the guys who are doing a lot of the work. I'll throw Nuge in there as well, even though I have been hard on Nuge in these playoffs. Excuse me here. I want to be fair to those guys within the context of piling on them for their efforts in this game, because this was the first game it really felt that the Oilers maybe didn't have enough gas, and they got off to a decent enough start. You know, they scored first. They got the goal from Evander Kane. They score there. They get out in front, and that was one of the keys. I talked about that on yesterday's episode, that the Oilers were 6-3-0 in the playoffs going into last night's game when they score first, and now it's 6-4-0. But when you score first, it allows your guys to ease into the game, get your goalie an opportunity, a little bit of room to breathe. You don't have to be perfect. And I do think that's been an issue for the Oilers in the playoffs this year and in years past, where they know their defense, they know their goaltending is not great. So everybody's very tense, and it's very easy to give up a stinker because you're so tense. And I do think that's part of what plagues Stuart Skinner and has plagued Stuart Skinner through his 2 career playoffs. But you're looking down the barrel now. It is 3-2. You're going to have to win 2 straight games against the Canucks, a team the Oilers have only beaten twice all season. You remember, they play 4 times in the regular season. The Canucks win all of those. They have played 5 games so far. The Canucks have won 3. The Oilers have beaten them 2 out of 4, 3, 5. They've beaten them 2 out of 7 times. Math, not my strong. Wait, no. The Canucks have won 3 and 4 in the regular season. That's 7. And then the Oilers have won 2, 9. You just saw my brain work in real time. I'm not a math guy. As one of my professors, one of my journalism professors in college says, there's 2 types of journalists. Those who are good. There are 3 types of journalists: those who are good at math and those who aren't. So you saw my brain operate in real time there for a second. You got to win 2 straight against a team you've beaten twice in 9 tries. That's not easy. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. Nothing is impossible in sports. All you got to do is get there. We're going to talk more about what the way this game unfolded, how it means for the rest of the playoffs, how long those playoffs go on. And then we'll talk about the pep talk the Oilers need to kind of lock in, lean forward in their chair if you're a video game person. The depth delivered today. I have spent the previous 5.5 weeks of doing this podcast saying, is somebody in the bottom 6 going to score at some point? Whether it's Holloway, Kane, McLeod, Perry. You got goals from Evander Kane and Matthias Janmark. In that type of game, you got to win, man. Those guys might not score a playoff goal again until 2026. And maybe that's unfair to single out guys who aren't here for their goal scoring, but if the Oilers are going to lose games where you're going to get goals from guys that aren't your 4 best players, guys, this is your formula. If you get 2 goals from non-McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins forwards and you still lose the game, it's not going to work out for you. And I know the vultures are starting to circle. I saw more than one. I know some people out there definitely saw the reports that Ken Holland might have interest in the Columbus Blue Jackets general manager job. And I'm putting might in big air quotes because that's out there for a reason. Now, whether that's out there from the Blue Jackets perspective to put some heat on him in Edmonton to kind of facilitate him getting out of there if things go badly on Saturday, maybe. If that's out there from his camp to say, well, guys, if you don't give me an extension, I have offers to go elsewhere. And that's where you kind of got to take a step back and be able to read the tea leaves. So there's definitely the vultures are circling is the way I'll describe it. I don't want to say the Oilers are dead because they're not. There are some things to take away from this game to feel okay about. And we're going to talk about those in the next segment and in the third segment. But one last point I wanted to make in this opening segment. You got 2 goals from non-McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins. And you went 0 for 5 on the power play. The opportunity to win this game was there tonight. You score 1 goal on the power play. This entire game is very different. 1 power play goal. This entire game has a different complexion, and we may very well could be talking about the Oilers being on the precipice of going back to the conference final. This series has been very close. Neither team has played great, but it is available, as John Forsland, who was calling the game down here in the States on TNT, likes to say, when there's a puck in front of the net, it's available. Who wants it? This game was available. When you get a goal, the way the Canucks won, I know Connor McDavid is probably, I don't know if the Oilers are going to fly back tonight or wait till the morning. If they're flying back in the morning, I know Connor McDavid's probably sitting on the bus right now waiting to go back to the hotel, and he's going to stare at the ceiling until 2 or 3 in the morning, because that's the type of game that keeps you up at night because you were that close. Oilers had chances to win that game. Oilers very well. All they needed was another 2 or 3 inches of McDavid's stick being in the way of JT Miller's goal, and that game very well could still be going on in overtime right now. We will be right back. We're going to talk about what everything that happened in last night's game means coming up next on Locked On Oilers. It's busy season in the sports world. We got NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, WNBA season is rolling, MLB season is rolling. I opened up the Game Time app because it's the only app I use to buy tickets to go to events. Very, very happy to say I will be seeing Caitlin Clark play the Liberty on Saturday tomorrow. Only place you can buy tickets is Game Time. Come on now, let's be serious. The flash deals where you can save exclusive in-app deals on seats ahead of the game or event. Zone deals where you save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. All-in pricing where you can see the price of the event in total before you get to checkout, and there are no surprise fees when you get to that last screen. My favorite feature, the seat view. Get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. Lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I want to thank everybody who's made Locked On Oilers a part of your Friday. I know you stay up late for a playoff game. You got to get up to go to work, go to school, go to the gym. You very well might be listening or watching this at 3 in the morning when it goes live in your time zone because you can't sleep, because that's the type of game, like I said about McDavid, we're not that different from athletes in terms of how much this hurts, man. I know there are a lot of people who say, oh, well, they make all the money, they live a better lifestyle. Trust me, those guys feel the burden. Those guys know what's expected of them and how much this means to people. It really frustrates me when I hear fans say, oh, they don't care about this as much as I do. For a guy like McDavid, who's basically spent his entire life chasing this, trying to be the next guy to take the mantle from Sidney Crosby as the guy, believe me, he is hurting just as much as you are. If you watched his post-game availability, you can see it in his eyes. You can hear it in his answers. That hurt. That was a winnable game, and he knew it, and they were not able to find a way to pull it out. And I've been very complimentary of the Oilers in these playoffs and their ability to find ways to win these type of games where they don't have their best effort. And that's typically the sign of a pretty good team. When you consistently find ways to win, even if you're not playing well, that typically tells you that you have guys who can overperform their results, who don't need a ton of scoring chances, who don't need a ton of quality scoring chances. They just need a few, and they pounce. Tonight it was Vancouver's guys. JT Miller is a great player. He's not in the McDavid Draisaitl tier. Is he in the David Pastrnak tier? Nikita Kucherov tier? He might be. JT Miller is making a strong argument to be one of those top 30, 20 players in the entire world the way the season has gone. And the way he carries himself matters. So, what does this mean for the Oilers to lose Game 5? You've heard me say it more than once. Talking specifically about Stuart Skinner, but now we can apply this to everybody. Short memory is the key. Yeah, it's frustrating you lost that game. It's okay if you want to let this simmer on you till you go to sleep. But once you wake up, That's it. It's over. It's done with. There's nothing you can do. Sure, there's a million things you would have liked to done differently. George Costanza spent a week and a half trying to come up with the jerk store to go back to that meeting to tell the guy who told him that who was eating, told him about eating the shit. Jerk store, great bit, but for the Oilers, it is really simple. You need to stay alive. Desperation is a great motivator, man. We have seen a lot of teams find ways to stave off elimination in improbable manners, and we're going to talk about some of the ways the Oilers can do that. But man, you now cannot get ahead of yourself. I'm going to go into the John Tortorella playbook. This is something he said when he was coaching the Rangers 13 years ago, 12 years ago at this point. When you are in these types of games, we're talking about elimination games, one play at a time, one shift at a time, one period at a time, one game at a time. You string together a couple of good plays, you had a good shift. You string together a couple of good shifts, you had a good period. String together a couple of good periods, you had a good game. String together a couple of good games, you string together a good series. That's your goal. It's very straightforward. You need to do anything you can, and that means we're going to have to get creative. I would not be surprised, and I personally would not do this. I would not be surprised if you see Connor Leon and Zach Hyman a lot in Game 6 together, especially being that they'll be back in Edmonton where they're going to have the benefit of last change, where if Chris Knobloch looks down and he sees Elias Pettersson out there with Nils Höglander, they're going to send their top guys out there against them. If it's Pia Suter, they might send him out there against those guys. Or something that the Canucks have done to great effect in this series when they've had last change, make their best players play defense. Put McDavid out there. Put McDavid out there against Elias Pettersson and tell Connor, win the faceoff, make Pettersson play defense for a minute and a half. There's plenty of evidence to show the best way to play defense in today's NHL is to not play defense at all. That's the key here. You go back and watch the Vancouver goals. It's not like the goaltending was an issue tonight. Pickard was fine. Was he great? No. They're not asking him to be great, and they didn't. They played reasonable enough. And like I said in the opening segment, I know the shots on goal, the expected goals. I know all the underlying numbers weren't pretty. Canucks didn't play great. Yeah, they had the puck a lot, but they didn't do a ton with it. So you can take a small positive from that. Yes, they had the puck a lot more, but the Oilers did a good job blocking shots. They had enough opportunities offensively that they didn't convert. That wasn't a blowout. There's not a lot of separation between these two teams. The Canucks just have a little bit more depth, and that's really been the difference in this series. We're not talking about a huge gap. There's opportunities here for the Oilers. In all of the games the Oilers have lost, they have had chances. And that's going to be unsatisfying to you as an Oilers fan, and I know that. But I try and serve as the voice of reason because these playoff series are very, very volatile. The results do not always match the process. Because of that, it is important to keep it all in perspective. And again, as a fan short for fanatic, I don't expect you to want to hear rational ideas. I know you want answers, and I'm going to try my best to give you some coming up next on Locked On Oilers. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Thank you to everybody who has made Locked On Oilers a part of their day every day. The everyday listener is the backbone of the show. Whether the Oilers make something happen or not, it's been really fun doing this. I cannot be thankful enough for the very kind people who've reached out and said some very nice things about me doing the show in the time I've been doing it. And whether or not we keep it going, it doesn't matter. I've had a lot of fun, and covering another team opens your eyes to different styles, teaches you different things, and it's invaluable as somebody who just wants to know more. So, all I have in my notes for the third segment is pep talk. I've been trying to decide whether I was going to do Billy Bob Thornton or Kyle Chandler Friday Night Lights for this, but I think the answer is somewhere in the middle ground. You see me stretching here to limber up because it's going to be serious. So I'm going to lean back a little bit because I'm going to move my hands, and I don't want to bump my microphone and upset you if you're listening with headphones on. So it's really simple. Look around the room. You will never be in this room with these same people, with the same opportunity in front of you ever again, as long as you live. There are a lot of guys in this room who have accomplished a lot. Corey Perry's won 3 Olympic gold medals. Connor McDavid's got how many MVPs? Leon's got an MVP. Evan Bouchard's probably going to win a Norris someday. How many games have some of the guys in this room played? Whether it's Perry, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins. We're talking a lot of miles, and getting this far is not easy. It takes 16 wins over the course of 2.5 months to make this happen. To realize this dream is both an incredible opportunity and the most difficult thing you will do as a hockey player. You cannot let moments like this pass you by. I think about all of the former players who never ended up winning a Stanley Cup, whether it's Joe Thornton, it's Henrik Lundqvist. I think about how those guys, in hindsight, have said, I knew it was hard to get here, but I always thought I would have another chance. Jumbo only got 1. Henrik only got 1. There are guys in this room who are some of the best hockey players to ever live. That is not a tinge of hyperbole. I believe when all is said and done, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl will be amongst 2 of the best 20 to 30 players to ever walk the planet as a hockey player. Connor's in a ring. Connor's going to be right there with Gretz, with Lemieux, with Messier, with Sid. He's in that tier. Draisaitl, he very well could end up being the best non-North American player of all time. I know that's a lofty bar. I know that might sound exaggerated. These guys are as good as it gets. I need more. It's really simple. You look around this room and there's opportunity everywhere. We have needed secondary scoring for 6 weeks, and we got 2 last game and we did nothing with it. Our power play, which was unstoppable for 5 weeks, suddenly we get 5 chances. We can't put 1 in the net. I know. We're asking a lot. It's only going to get harder from here. We need to win 1 game so we have the opportunity to play 1 more game. That is the greatest privilege you have. You still have a chance. You think about some of these teams, the situations they're in. You think about the Hurricanes. Half of their team, half of the 18 guys they dressed in their elimination game, free agents, restricted, unrestricted, whatever. Half of that team is up in the air. Their head coach, very much up in the air. Look around this room. There are quite a few guys in here, Chris Knobloch included, who are uncertain what their future holds, what Ken Holland's future holds. There is a lot riding on this and making this happen. We are not playing terribly. We have been right there more than once. I'm not asking for the moon. I am asking for that much more. You give me that much more every shift, we can start to make some things happen. That crowd out there is going to be incredible. They want nothing more than for you to give them a reason to yell. If it's good or bad, that's on you guys. You are going to need to find a way to meet this moment. Meeting this moment does not mean trying to score a goal every shot we take. It does not mean trying to put someone through the ice or through the glass. It means being able to roll with the punches as the game develops. They've had the puck a lot more than us in this series. That's okay. We trust Pickard. We think when Bouchard and Ekholm are out there, we can do enough. We've been better defensively since we changed up our pairs. Sure, we maybe need to be a little bit tighter, but we're not getting as hemmed in. We can move the puck a little bit better. We are going to have our chances tonight. I know Connor. I know Leon. I know Zach Hyman. I know Evan Bouchard. These guys have it. They are going to give us everything they can. Find a way to help. And this is as difficult as it gets. You are facing elimination against a team that's got more guys. I'm not asking for the Oilers to play out of their minds. I am asking them to find a way to make some things happen. More than enough talent to make some things happen, to capitalize on the opportunities before them. Go win this hockey game. Let's go to BC. Let's beat them in 7, and let's send a damn message. The Oilers are more than capable of doing this. Their goalie down there has played in 15 career NHL games. Throw the puck at him as much as we possibly can. Let's get some bodies in front. Let's get some rebounds. Let's get some deflections. And let's make the Canucks play defense instead of us play defense. Because that's the way we're going to win this hockey game. Make them play defense, force them into mistakes, and capitalize when our moment comes up. I'd give myself like a B-. That wasn't my best pep talk. Teetering back and forth between playing a character like I'm talking to the Oilers locker room versus doing a podcast. Not the easiest thing in the world. Probably maybe should have scripted a little bit of it, but then it wouldn't have been genuine. So I digress. That'll do it for today's edition of Locked On Oilers. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts or over on YouTube. If you're watching over on YouTube, subscribe button, alarm bell. Let me know in the comments. Do you think the Oilers are going to force a Game 7? If the Oilers lose, there will be an episode whenever that game ends. If the Oilers win, there will be an episode whenever that game ends. I will talk to you guys then. Until then, let's go Oilers, and I hope this isn't the end of the ride.